Real Madrid have dropped crucial points, and suddenly, a shadow drifts across the Santiago Bernabeu. Whispers rise from the stands, from the streets, from the history that follows this club like a living spirit. Is Alonso truly worthy to lead Real Madrid? Or are the last 3 matches revealing cracks the eye cannot yet see? Tonight, we journey through those games, not as mere analysts, but as seekers of truth, uncovering the hidden patterns, the unseen pressures, and the quiet moments that could define the future of this legendary club. When Alonso stepped into the Real Madrid throne, he didn't simply inherit a team. He inherited an empire built on decades of triumphs, legends, and impossible expectations. From the first moment, the weight of that legacy settled on his shoulders like an ancient crown, glittering and heavy. At Real Madrid, perfection is not a goal, it's a demand. Every match is a test, every mistake an echo felt far beyond the pitch. And in the last 3 games, those echoes have grown louder. Fans who once whispered promises of a new golden era now speak with uncertainty. The media, ever watchful, has turned its gaze sharper, questioning decisions, dissecting tactics, searching for signs of weakness. The air around the club has changed. It carries tension, skepticism, and something deeper, an unspoken fear that perhaps the man chosen to lead this dynasty may not yet be ready to command its destiny. The first tremor in Real Madrid's recent downfall came under the cold European lights of the Champions League on November 5. A night meant for glory, instead became a silent warning. Liverpool 1, Real Madrid 0. A narrow score on paper, but on the pitch, it felt like a deeper imbalance, an unsettling shift beneath the surface of Alonso's early reign. From the opening whistle, something felt strangely out of rhythm. Alonso's formation, carefully crafted in training, seemed to waver against Liverpool's relentless tempo. The structure looked elegant in theory, but brittle when tested. Real Madrid's lines stretched too far apart, the spaces between them opening like fault lines waiting to break. In midfield, the balance that once defined Real Madrid's identity felt disrupted. The double pivot lacked harmony, the transitions were a step too slow, a breath too late. Liverpool's midfield, sharp and ruthless, danced through the gaps with unsettling ease. You could almost feel the ground shifting, every misplaced pass, every mistimed press, echoing through the Bernabeu's distant memory of dominance. Real Madrid's pressing lines, usually crisp and synchronized, looked blurred, hesitant. The forwards pressed high, but the midfield didn't follow with conviction. The defense held its ground, but too deep, inviting pressure like an inevitable storm. Between those fractured layers, Liverpool found their rhythm, their confidence, their goal. And the moment that goal arrived, it felt less like a sudden strike and more like the natural unfolding of a script Real Madrid had failed to rewrite. As the match progressed, the question grew heavier. Was Alonso being outmaneuvered? Or was he merely watching his players struggle to adapt to a vision still unformed? On the touchline, he watched with a calm exterior, but beneath it, a quiet truth lingered. Every choice he made that night, every substitution, every shift in shape, felt reactive, not commanding. Liverpool dictated the pace, Real Madrid followed its shadow. And when the final whistle blew, the scoreboard said 1-0. But the real story of that night was the doubt it planted. A doubt that would follow Real Madrid into the next matches, growing with every unanswered question about Alonso's tactics, his timing, and his readiness to face Europe's fiercest challenges. Just days after the defeat in Europe, Real Madrid returned to La Liga seeking redemption. Yet what unfolded on November 9 against Rayo Vallecano was not a revival, but an eerie continuation of the same unsettling silence. A 0-0 draw. No goals, no spark, no breakthrough, only questions, growing louder, heavier, more persistent. From the first minute, Real Madrid's momentum felt strangely muted, as if the team was walking through a fog they could not shake off. The energy that usually defines them, the confidence, the swagger, the belief that a goal will eventually come, was nowhere to be found. Instead, the match felt like a slow, uneasy drift, a team searching for a rhythm that refused to reveal itself. Player roles seemed misaligned, as if their natural strengths were being redirected into unfamiliar currents. Forwards who thrive on quick transitions were asked to operate in tighter, slower build-up play. Creative midfielders found themselves boxed in, turning sideways instead of forward, waiting for movements that never came. Even the defenders appeared torn between pushing up and holding the line, caught in a tactical no-man's land. And then, the missed chances. One after another. Half chances. Nearly there moments. Attacks that began with promise but collapsed just before the finish. It was not simply poor finishing, it felt like Real Madrid's entire attacking soul had been tangled, trapped in a system that hadn't yet found itself. The ball moved, but without conviction. The shots came, but without destiny. Everything felt one touch off, one idea short, one heartbeat too slow. Substitutions, usually a spark for Real Madrid, arrived late, as if Alonso hesitated at the edge of a decision he wasn't fully ready to make. By the time changes came, Vallecano had grown comfortable, their defensive wall solidified, their belief strengthened. Madrid pushed, but Vallecano pushed back, and the game tightened into a stalemate neither side could truly break. And so the question lingered across the pitch. Did Alonso fail to adapt? Was he too loyal to a plan that wasn't working? Too slow to alter the flow of a game slipping away? As the clock ticked down, the draw felt less like a point earned and more like a moment lost. A night where Real Madrid had the talent, the opportunity, the legacy, but not the clarity. When the final whistle blew, the scoreboard showed nothing, 0-0. But the emptiness was its own message. A second match without victory, a second match without answers, and the growing sense that perhaps this was not just a bad night, but a sign of deeper fractures waiting to surface. And then came November 24th, the night that would shift the conversation from worry to outright concern. Elche 2, Real Madrid 2. A draw that felt less like a rescue, and more like a warning delivered with thunder in the distance. This was meant to be the match that calmed the storm, an opportunity to steady the ship, reclaim momentum, and silence the doubts rising around Alonso. Instead, it became the tipping point, the moment when every uneasy whisper turned into a roar. From the start, the tactical setup felt conflicted, caught between caution and ambition. Alonso set his team to control the midfield and dictate tempo, yet the structure never fully settled. The spacing was inconsistent, the transitions imprecise. Madrid moved the ball, but not with authority, more like a traveler wandering unfamiliar terrain, searching for a path not yet formed. Elche sensed it. They pressed with belief, attacked with clarity, and their movements carved through Madrid's shape in moments that felt all too simple. Their first goal hit like a sudden break in the sky, a reminder that Real Madrid's defensive organization, once iron and stone, now looked fragile, breakable, uncertain. The second goal. That was the moment the criticism sharpened. A mix of individual errors and structural flaws intertwined like threads in a fraying tapestry. A missed mark, a slow rotation, a defensive hesitation, and suddenly Madrid were 2 goals down, staring into the eyes of a crisis they didn't expect. And so came the question: where was Alonso in this unfolding chaos? Late game management became the focal point. His substitutions arrived, but again, they felt reactive, not transformative. Players entered the pitch with urgency, but not with a clear shift in tactical identity. The spark came eventually. Real Madrid fought back, clawed back 2 goals, showed the pride and resilience that defines their history. But it felt like a comeback born from raw talent, not guided strategy. Even in the equalizer, the truth lingered. This should never have been a match Real Madrid needed to save. And when the whistle blew at 2-2, it wasn't relief that filled the air. It was frustration, questions, doubt turning into critique. Because in 3 matches, a pattern had formed: unclear tactics, inconsistent midfield balance, defensive fragility, late substitutions, and a team searching for direction. Elche did not just take 2 goals from Real Madrid. They exposed the heart of the problem. And now, the world asks more loudly than ever: is Alonso truly ready to lead Real Madrid? Or is the weight of the white shirt proving heavier than anyone expected? As the dust of these 3 matches settles, a pattern reveals itself, like faint constellations slowly forming in a darkened sky. What happened to Real Madrid was not a series of isolated missteps, but a repeating rhythm, a quiet signal pulsing beneath every game. Defensively, the inconsistency has been impossible to ignore. Moments of strength flickered but never sustained. Lines broke too easily, rotations arrived too late, and opponents found spaces that Real Madrid once defended with iron discipline. It felt as though the backline moved not as a single organism, but as scattered fragments searching for unity. In the midfield, a different struggle emerged. The creativity, the spark that once lit Madrid's attacks, seemed dimmed. The transitions lacked flow, the ideas lacked sharpness. Passes connected, yes, but without that sense of inevitability. That magic touch that has always separated Real Madrid from the rest. And up front, poor finishing became a recurring shadow. Whether through hesitation, miscommunication, or simply the weight of pressure, chances dissolved before they could become moments of triumph. At times it felt as though the entire attack leaned too heavily on a select few, waiting for individual brilliance to mask deeper structural issues. Through all this, Alonso's tactical patterns repeated like echoes. The same reliance on controlled build-up, the same hesitation to adjust mid-game, the same late substitutions. A vision was there, clear, intentional, but perhaps too rigid, too idealistic for the chaos and intensity of these matches. Across all three games, the theme was the same. Real Madrid were not beaten by a single opponent, but by their own recurring vulnerabilities, looping back like a circle left unbroken. And now comes the question at the heart of this storm, one as old as football itself. Is Alonso the architect of this crisis? Or merely a figure caught in forces larger than himself? Some point to system failures, tactics too rigid, adjustments too slow, patterns too predictable. They see a coach still shaping his identity, struggling to impose it on a squad built for another era. They argue that the responsibility lies with him, that Real Madrid demands more, expects more, and cannot wait for learning curves. But others see a different truth. They point to the squad's weaknesses, injuries disrupting rhythm, fatigue draining energy, rotation forced rather than planned. They see players out of form, attackers missing chances they would normally bury, defenders stretched beyond their limits. In their eyes, Alonso is navigating a ship battered by conditions not of his making. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. A young coach finding his place in a club that rarely allows time. A talented squad carrying both brilliance and burden. A system still incomplete, a vision still forming. So is the criticism fair? In moments, yes. In others, perhaps not. But one thing is certain. The questions will not fade, the pressure will not ease, and Real Madrid's future now hangs in the balance of whether Alonso can transform this turbulence into the beginnings of something greater, or be consumed by the very expectations that welcomed him. If Alonso is to restore balance to this great club, changes cannot wait, they must come with urgency and clarity. First, tactical tweaks. The team must regain flexibility, allowing players to express their strengths while maintaining defensive solidity. The rigid lines that have caused confusion must breathe, creating space for creativity to flourish. Lineup adjustments are also essential. Those in form must play with freedom. Those struggling must either adapt or rest. Every selection must serve both the strategy and the momentum of the match, not sentiment or reputation. The pressing shape, once a weapon, is now a puzzle. Alonso must synchronize movement across all lines, ensure transitions are seamless, and reclaim the intensity that once defined Real Madrid. Finally, game management must sharpen. Substitutions must arrive before momentum is lost. Adjustments must anticipate the opponent, not merely react. The team's heartbeat must follow his lead, not wander aimlessly through uncertainty. The last three matches reveal both fragility and potential. Alonso has faced adversity that would test even the most seasoned leader. Patterns of inconsistency, tactical rigidity, and defensive lapses have emerged, but so too has resilience, vision, and a clear guiding philosophy. Real Madrid may require patience to allow this young strategist to fully imprint his identity, but the window for error is narrow. The club stands at a crossroads: trust in Alonso's long-term potential or demand immediate correction. In truth, he is neither fully flawed nor unquestionably ready. He is a work in progress, a navigator attempting to steer one of football's greatest vessels through turbulent seas. Whether he succeeds will define not only his legacy, but the future of Real Madrid itself. The storm is far from over, and the questions linger in every corner of the Bernabeu. Should Real Madrid keep faith in Alonso, or chart a new course entirely? Join the conversation. Share your thoughts, debate the decisions, and subscribe for in-depth Real Madrid analysis every week, where history, strategy, and the beautiful game collide.